Trixie lagged behind, scared, worried and cautious. Yet Sparkle did not intend to head over to the chasm that was her usual playground. The two fillies had no idea how high up they went in the caverns. Reckless exploration was forbidden by Velvet's decree, but that didn't stop Sparkle from finding various hiding places for many of the technological surface wonders she unearthed. But there were wonders she simply could not take back with her. She could tell her brethren about her secret sanctuary on the upper levels, but that wouldn't just spoil the magic. If she told them, Velvet would immediately erect an enchanted barrier or physically sealing the pathway to keep her daughter from further developing her obsessions with the surface world. "Sparkle," said Trixie, "we're going to be late for our first Maggie sister exam. If you are her daughter, the chieftain will seriously punish you." "We'll make it in time," smiled Sparkle. "Besides, I want to pray to the sun so I can pass." "I'll say, you definitely need all the blessings from the celestial gods if the chieftain is our proctor." "Okay, we're here." The area looked just like all the other cave structures that surrounded Unicornia, plain and small. Yet in the middle, Trixie beheld her gaping amazement in a single narrow pillar of light rising from the floor and piercing the ceiling. "What manner of magic is this?" "This is no magic, it's actual sunlight." "We are really this high up?" "I don't know." Sparkle walked into the pillar of light, initially shocking Trixie, who believed that it might actually set her friend ablaze. For a while, Sparkle basked in the warmth of the pillar of light and exhaled a long, relaxing sigh. "So warm," said Sparkle. "Trixie, you should take a look at this. You can almost see the sky." "Well, okay." Before any of the two fillies moved, they heard a distant boom not unlike they heard in the caves. Fearing a possible cave-in, neither of them moved nor spoke. But Sparkle looked up the narrow hole that led up to the surface and sky. Moments later, a rainbow-colored energy wave barreled down into the caves and struck Sparkle, imbuing her with untold amount of energy that sent her inside of her body and soul ablaze. Then suddenly, everything turned white. She woke up to a familiar hummed tune she had not heard for a long time. Sparkle saw her mother's back close to her bedside, where she just had replaced another cold towel with a warm one fresh from the bowl. Velvet now had an eye patch over her left eye. "Mother, I'm sorry." "Don't talk, just rest." Sparkle was so unused to her mother acting so motherly that at first it felt unsettling. Velvet had no stern words to say to her daughter. There were no commands issued and no prospects of intense magical discipline. Quietly, she stayed by her daughter's side for many hours and took on knitting to pass the time. "How long was I out?" asked Sparkle before she received her almost tasteless soup. "A few days." "Is every pony all right?" "We suffered losses." "What about the Orange Earth pony, Applejack?" "As much as I want to personally throw her from top of the chasm, we were forced to keep her under house arrest for the time being." "Thank the stars." "But I'm not doing this for your sake. We ran into complications when we attempted to escort her out of our village. At first I didn't want to believe it, but I knew right when you had told me about your worsening condition that somehow during your magical outburst you transferred a part of your soul into the accursed element of truth." "The element of truth? That means they're all real. I can't believe she had it all along. But what does the element of truth have something to do with holding parts of souls?" "I can't be sure, but her appearance with one of the 6 elements does mean that the Starswirl prophecy is coming true." "Then I must be the unicorn betrayer that was foretold." "That has yet to be seen. Rest now, my Spark. I have to prepare my announcement to the council tomorrow." "Wait, tell me about Trixie. What happened to her?" "She's gone." Velvet's cold gaze back to her daughter made Sparkle's heart sink further in personal guilt. It was too good to be true to have, for the first time in recent memory, a motherly velvet. Trixie was gone. After Sparkle, she was one of the most powerful Maggie sisters in the village. She wasn't just a friend and a study mate. Trixie was like a sister to her, and Sparkle slowly beat herself inside for allowing all this tragedy to transpire. Yet she wanted to believe that Trixie was alive somehow and somewhere. Mother was certainly not going to dash her hopes just yet. Almost an hour had passed since Velvet had left to tend to other matters. Sparkle had eventually realized that this room was not hers, and perhaps its owner was a unicorn who had been killed by the clone soldiers. Despite her mother's command, she did not want to rest. Disobeying her was still as natural as ever in the calm after the battle. She gained enough strength to get off her bed and walk out of the house. The dim sun spell illuminated the ruined village where many of stony buildings had been turned into scorched rubble. However, some semblance of cleanliness and order had been restored since the aftermath of the attack. The streets were at least clean, but there was still many homes left in ruin. Very few unicorns were seen trotting about their business, but none seemed to have paid Sparkle any revulsion or acknowledgement. Perhaps they blamed her for bringing Applejack to the caverns, or perhaps they were afraid of the raw magical outburst she had released when she saw her fellow villagers in mortal danger. Sparkle surveyed the damage with a short walk and tried to find any pony she could speak to. Then, in a familiar clearing that was once a back lot where the folds played, she saw a long grey stallion with a parchment at his destiny glyph, somberly tending to a makeshift graveyard. There weren't too many of them, perhaps 20 or so, and Sparkle feared that she knew all of them. There were names etched on some of the gravestones. The rest remained blank. Trix wouldn't be buried there, she convinced herself. She was about to ask the stallion she knew to be written script if they found her body, but he had already trotted away without even acknowledging her presence. She could chase after him, but she didn't want to upset him any further. With a heavy heart, she approached the graves and immediately recognized all the names that had been written thus far. There had been grave sites for others in many other parts of the cave system, mostly for the unicorns who had died of old age, diseases, and unfortunate accidents. But to have one within the village meant that they would soon abandon this one and carve out another one. In the corner of her eye, Sparkle noticed the unicorn colt staring angrily at a partial ruined house a few paces away. A short time later, and straining with fury, he levitated a stone and shot it through the window. "Go away, Earthian!" Applejack. Sparkle never thought they would use a vacant, albeit ruined house as a prison, but it wasn't like the Earth Pony would be able to simply walk out of Unicornia. Obviously, hex stones had been placed around the house to restrict Applejack's movements. "Kuiper, what are you doing there?" asked Sparkle. "Shouldn't you be at home?" "I don't have a home anymore." "What about your parents?" "They're all dead, and it's all because of her and her Earth Pony kind. I hate them! I hate them all!" The little call ran away in tears, and as much as Sparkle wanted to comfort the little pony, whom she taught a spell or two, no words would ever heal the deep wound in his heart. For more pressing matters, Sparkle poked her head into the house and saw a naked Applejack winding up her rope. Upon noticing her visitor, the orange pony blushed and immediately threw her duster on her body. "You should knock first," she said. "Sorry, I forgot Earth ponies are so sensitive about revealing their nature's call. Should I wear something over my flank?" "You don't have to, but don't wave it around." "Have they been treating you well?" "They haven't been treating me, period. Had to dress my own wounds and whatnot. Sometimes I find food and water left in front of my doorstep. It's still better than the scraps I had to scrounge for when I was on the run." "So you crossed the chasm to escape from those clone soldiers?" "Bingo. I'm a rebel opposed to the current government of Gaia. If you want to blame some pony, blame them. Although I wouldn't blame you all if you blamed me for luring them over here. You should have killed me when you found my body." I would never do such a thing, whether you were a unicorn or an earth pony. Besides, you have something that has been told to me through prophecies and legends. So they told you about the element of truth, huh? You have to tell me where you got it and how it works. All I know that my family have been holding on to this for who knows how long. Magic ain't my strong suit, and I have no idea how this thing works exactly. This here element of truth sort of chose me. It isn't anything I can explain other than the fact that I can transform it into a sword and allows me to see through ponies' lies. I tell you, the entire government is built upon a mountain of lies. So tell me, what does your unicorn history tell you about the history of the beginning of the Great Pony War? Well, my mother told me that it was caused by a small group of earth ponies opposed to the unification upon the assassination of Chancellor Puddinghead. Your mother was right on the mark. What were you taught in Gaia? Well, aside from Smart Cookie being the one who was framed and later executed for murdering Puddinghead, they also told us that it was the unicorns who manipulated him in doing so. We apples are descended from Smart Cookie, and I'm the last. I intend to clear my family name by assassinating Chancellor Posey and topple the government, but I can't do just with one element of creation. I need the other 5 in order to fulfill my goals. So you know about them as well. Not many in Gaia believe in them, but this here truth element tells me that they exist. However, I need to find an alicorn thing that is said to be able to find the rest of them. An alicorn? I don't know what it is either, but I can't exactly do it when your ma placed all these hexes around my house and the caves. I have a feeling they plan on separating me from my element by force. Did they tell you that half my soul is transferred over to you through the element? No, but that couldn't be the reason they hadn't done me in, could it? Other ponies in the past tried to take my element, but they actually ended being severely injured or killed by it. Does your element know? Like I said, magic ain't my strong suit. I don't know much about my element, and it only wants me to know the truth when it needs to. So far, what you told me aren't lies. I think I'll need to test that. I told the truth so far, Sugar Cube. I mean to test the theory that my soul has been split in half. Are you sure? Your mother looked awfully worried when they told her that your body went cold. I don't remember that happening, but I still need to know for sure. Do you know when that happened? A couple of days ago, when they were about to blast me off a top cliff in the dark ravine. Why do you ask? I have an idea what is going on, but I need to leave you for a moment. You will be alright when I'm away, right? I'll manage. I don't see any pony trying to steal my element as of yet, and I'd like to see them try. I'll come back as soon as I can, so we can talk some more. I must know more about the surface world. Sparkle trotted backwards to make sure no unicorn would magically decloak from his or her invisibility spell and assault Applejack. But she knew well that under Velvet's watch any kind of disorder would not be tolerated, even against a prisoner. The purple unicorn had acquired an important clue about predicament. If her body went cold when they attempted to throw Applejack off on the upper level of the chasm, then distance might be a factor in keeping her halves of her soul linked and functioning. Many of her brethren believed in souls, while Sparkle remained skeptical of their existence. If not science, there had to at least be a magical reason for souls, but to bring one of the 6 elements of creation in play. All logic might as well be thrown out of the window. Based on her calculations, the distance from Unicornia and the upper level of the chasm was almost a kilometer. She would have to leave Applejack and her village for longer than she intended, but the first path she sought after the one heading towards her secret cave that was 500 meters away. Beyond that was a more dangerous path, but she surmised that it was a good 500 more meters further. Passing through the village and into the cavern paths, Sparkle saw piles of clone soldier armor and weapons gathered next to the one of the exit. The further she went towards the secret cave, the more she saw the empty armor husks, of the clones thrown against the wall as if they were struck by a powerful magical shockwave. These weren't the ones Applejack had slain not too long, and the more she passed through, the more she saw. Applejack never expected her magical overload to reach this far, but at least the threat had been extinguished. She finally arrived at the secret cave that had remained untouched during the raising of Unicornia. Instead of continuing on further, she went inside and flipped the wall switch she installed on to control lightning. The overhead fluorescent lights flickered on. There was still battery power left. Sparkle slowly walked through all the gathered trinkets organized on makeshift hooks, ledges, tables, and bookshelves along almost every square inch of her sanctuary. Each item elicited a unique memory for Sparkle, like how she used the worn hydraulic service manual to create makeshift water pump, which failed despite days of excitement of building it. Another was an old computer monitor that she managed to hook up to a computer motherboard. When it turned on, the initial image shocked her friend Trixie so much that she fired a magic blast at it. There was also the incident that she shared toothpaste with Minuet, who then, after thinking it was a sweet snack, became sick after ingesting the entire tube. Besides trinkets of technological wonders, Sparkle had collected many literatures washed up on the chasm's polluted river shores. Many of them were hateful propaganda posters that called for Earth ponies to rally against Pegasi and traitors. Those she kept rolled up in a shelf she built, but there was one poster she took extra care to hang up and frame at the very end of her secret cave. Beneath the glass panel was a poster advertising a Gaia military show over at Appaloosa of some unknown date. Aside from the obvious propaganda of Earth pony aviators saluting to the palace of the Earth, Gaia's flag and propeller planes flying in the foreground, the rest of the poster showcased foals and their parents running across green fields of grass and flowers under a yellow and orange sun. The idyllic fields in the poster served as her ideal vision of what the surface world should look like, not just for Earth ponies, but also for unicorns, Pegasi, and all the other sentient creatures of the world. At every chance she got, Sparkle would lie down and stare at the poster, especially after the rigorous training her mother put her through. She dreamt of living in that world, where the current chieftain was nothing but a loving mother, and her father and brother were by her side. Perhaps she would make non-unicorn friends. Perhaps there she would find a boyfriend, get married, and have children. Yet with Unicornia being relocated further away from the chasm, her dream might never come true, and there would never be a way to carry all of her collection to the new village. Even if she did, many more years would pass by, and Sparkle deeply feared that she would lose interest in the world above and become content living underground for the rest of her life. She just did not want to forsake her father or her brother. They had to be alive. Suddenly, she felt a jolt of pain rippling throughout her body, but it did not feel like the physical pain she was used to. She felt the pain deep within her being, as well as the sensation in the back of her heart that she was being moved elsewhere. This must be what her mother talked about, Applejack carrying half her soul. Then she felt another jolt of pain from within. Sparkle did not feel as if her other half being moved further. Rather, she felt her soul being stripped forcefully and shackled to the ground. She felt the hateful eyes of almost 100 beings staring down upon her, while one set bore down her with cold execution. This wasn't right. Her mother would never kill a pony, especially with magic, but the real reason why Applejack was restrained was not because of her presence or the attraction of the clone soldiers. The element of truth. Legend has it that it and the other 5 ones comprised of the element of creation, a powerful magical artifact that had the ability to remake the world and, if necessary, destroy it in the process. Velvet had deep reservation of the elements, and whenever Sparkle tried to discuss it, she was promptly told to never speak of it again. But if the element of truth could not simply be taken from Applejack by force, Quickly, Sparkle sprang to her hooves and galloped as fast and hard as she could back to the unicornia, only to find it deserted. There was only one other place they would have taken Applejack, and it would be the Endless Pits. She hurried towards its entrance, knowingly tripping a hex barrier put in place by her mother. Immediately, Sparkle performed a teleportation spell to arrive in front of Applejack, but as usual, Velvet was quick to pluck her daughter out of the ether subspace and slam her into the ground before her stern eyes. Applejack stood naked and magically shackled on the ground to be surrounded by all of the unicorns of the village. But the only open area was the ledge leading down into the Endless Pits, where Sparkle knew where Velvet had thrown all of her confiscated surface world trinkets, never to be seen again. "Mother!" Sparkle cried. "You're going to kill her? That goes against our tribe's laws." "The laws only apply to the unicorn tribe," replied Velvet. "It's the same thing, because killing her means killing me. I do not intend to kill you, my young daughter. The Magisters and I are going to perform an incantation to forcefully separate the element of truth from the Earthian. But it can't be removed through any means. There is only one way. I will have to kill the original holder and become the next bearer, so that your half of the soul will be in safe hooves. Now stand back." Immediately, Sparkle teleported right in front of Applejack and lowered her horn in a fighting stance towards her mother. "Sugarcube, you don't have to do this," whispered Applejack. "It was my fault after all." "This isn't the way we should be doing this," Sparkle cried out to all the unicorns, her mother specifically. "She is an earth pony," said Velvet. "She is a stranger to our race and has brought misfortune upon our village. Many had died because of her, and that's reason enough. Don't take a step further. If you do, I won't hesitate to use my magic again, against all of you. If this is the way we should treat non-unicorns, then we deserve to be extinct." "Are you willing to go that far for a stranger? It was her kind that cursed us to live underground. Yes, therefore I, First Magisister Sparkle, challenge you, Chieftain Twilight Velvet, to a magic duel. If I win, I earn the right to travel with Applejack across the chasm. And if you lose, then Applejack and I will throw ourselves into the Endless Pit along with the element of truth. Win or lose, my life or death will only benefit our village. You are awfully confident that whatever destiny has in store for you will be the correct path. Very well, you shall meet me here within 1 hour's time. I'd advise you to prepare as much as you can." Upon Velvet's nod, Minuet and the other Magisters and Magisisters dispersed the glowing magical shackles that wrapped around Applejack's limbs and tail, giving her a moment to breathe a sigh of relief before turning to the side and covering her nature's call with her tail. Expecting twilight, the unicorns eventually dispersed back onto their homes, and they had left aside the orange pony's belongings by the entrance, as if they were discarded for being unclean. Though dusty and dirtied, Applejack harbored no anger against her captors, and had put on her overcoat and hat after tidying them up. "Sugarcube," said Applejack, "you sure you can beat your own ma? I hope you still have that magical power you used against them clones. I'm more worried that I might have accidentally killing her. By the way she's acting, I think the village deserves a better chief. Well, I know I may not agree with her actions, but she is still my mother. Applejack, can you still walk?" "Can I? I've been roughed up much worse before." "Then, if it's not much to ask, I want you to help me train. Trixie usually helps me, but I'm sorry." The two said nothing more, and somberly Applejack followed Sparkle to her training ground.